All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the March 12th, 2024 regular board meeting of the Arcata Fire Protection District Board of Directors. Will you all stand with me, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Madam Secretary, could we please have a roll call?
Director Johnson? Here. Director Maynard?
Here.
Director Mendoza?
Here.
Vice President Arcata?
Here.
President Loudslogger is absent.
And we need, is there a motion for an approval of the agenda?
Before you do that, I'm requesting that we pull item 3 from the consent calendar. There was some missing documents that need to be attached to it. So.
Okay. So pull item 3 from the agenda. And anything else?
I move to approve the agenda.
No.
Second.
Do you have any public comment?
For the agenda?
Oh, I thought you were on consent. Okay, I'm sorry. I went to consent.
You're ahead of me. Okay, with a motion and a second?
Director Johnson?
Yes.
Director Maynard?
Yes.
Director Mendoza?
Yes.
Vice President Arcata?
Yes.
President Loudslogger is absent. Motion carries.
And on to public comment and association reports. Any person may address the district board on any subject pertaining to district business which is not listed on the agenda. This comment is provided by the Ralph M. Brown Open Meeting Act, Government Code Section 54-950 et sec, and may be limited to 3 minutes for any person addressing the board. In request that requires board action may be set by the board for a future agenda or referred to staff. Seeing none? Okay. On to the consent calendar. Consent calendar items are considered routine and are acted upon by the board with a single action. Members of the audience wishing to provide public input may request the board remove the item from the consent calendar. Comments may be limited to 3 minutes.
And Jason, before we do that, I need to read something into the minutes and into the consent calendar. So under item 5, which is the travel policy, during our briefing, Jason and I, we picked up a couple of grammatical errors that we need to fix. It's not a material change to the document, so we'll just put them in there. So page 1 of the policy, section 208.2 of the policy, the word be was inserted into the first sentence between must and for. Page 3 of the policy, section 208.2.5 transportation, the word will was deleted in the second paragraph between district and reimbursement. Page 4 of the policy, section 208.3 authorization procedures, the word lease was corrected to leased in subsection C. And page 4 policy, section 208.4 traveler's responsibility, the word for was deleted from the first paragraph between authorization and they. In the bullet point of the same section, the word for was inserted after the word need.
Thank you, Chief McDonald. Any other corrections? With those corrections, I'll invite, no, motion,
Comment.
public comment. Any public comment? Okay. Any questions from directors? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll move to approve the consent calendar with the removal of item number 3.
I'll second.
With a motion and a second?
Director Johnson?
Yes.
Director Minor?
Yes.
Director Mendoza?
Yes.
Vice President Akana?
Yes.
President Loudenslager is absent. Motion carries.
Okay. So we are moving on to district business. And that starts on page 45 of the agenda. This district business item number 1 is to approve the purchase of a new engine from Golden State Fire Apparatus and authorize the fire chief to sign the agreement. Can I get a staff report, please?
Sure. So a couple weeks back, we received notice from the Humboldt Area Foundation that the district would be a recipient of a grant from the Orva May Emerson Endowment Fund. This grant is for the purchase of a new fire engine, and it's in the amount of $130,000 for 7 years, a total value of $910,000, which is an approximate price of a brand new fire engine. An attachment to the staff report was the letter that outlines the benchmarks that the district will need to make as part of the grant process. So with that, we've reached out to a couple of the vendors. The most responsive that came back was from Golden State Fire Apparatus. And essentially they have a proposal that if we purchase the exact same vehicle that we just purchased from them, it would be a premium slot that we can get in and get it built in 29 months, as opposed to if there's modification, it bumps it out to 43 months. The price is about $150,000 more than we paid, so it's about $906,863. That's with a prepayment discount. That's also with a group purchasing discount. I think that was about $70,000. The attachment to this staff report is the proposal from Pierce and the contract that we would need to sign. This price and on the offer is valid until March 29th. The just kind of is, the question is, this seems like a rush. Is there anything else out there? Yes, there may be things out there, but we have elected to go through the Sourcewell purchasing, so this is already a pre-bid. This is essentially a piggyback, so we don't have to go through the bid process for it. The other thing is that if we miss the opportunity for the cookie cutter of what we have, it'll push us into the 2027 emission standards, which the motors currently have not been designed and or tested yet. And the cost just for the emissions upgrades are anywhere from $50,000 to $80,000 on the price. And that doesn't include, Pierce has, like all the rest of the outfits, has been having a quarterly price increase. And then, the other side of it is we would miss the opportunity to jump in on a premium slot on the build, and it would be pushed out for 43 months. So that being said, staff is recommending the board consider the information provided, take public comment, discuss, and approve the purchase of the fire engine and authorize the chief to sign the contract with Golden State Fire.
Thank you. Are there any questions from directors?
I'd like to just say something. There's a story behind this, this endowment. I just wanted to recognize Mrs. Emerson. Back in the, I want to say the mid-1980s, there was a call out on Alliance Road where she was taking her husband to the hospital for and he was having a heart attack, and he went into cardiac arrest. And so there was a 911 call, and Arcata Fire and Arcata Police showed up. And unfortunately, Mr. Emerson did not survive his heart attack. Mrs. Emerson was very pleased and with that response. And when she got older, she made an endowment that went to Arcata Police, Arcata Fire, and Heart and Cancer and Heart.
I think so, yeah.
And so already, Mrs. Emerson has, this is the first time the district has received anything from the endowment. The volunteer organization that owns this building, they did receive some funds from the Orville May Emerson Endowment when this building was remodeled. So it's really great timing for the Emerson Endowment to provide this funding, because as we've learned from previous meetings, we have, was it 3 older aging fire engines that are starting to get hard to get parts for them, and they're all getting old at the same time, and this will really help us not wear out the older ones, stretch the life on the older ones longer. And so along with that, the part of in the print here is that on this fire engine is going to be from the Orville May Emerson Endowment through the Humboldt Area Foundation. So just a little background on how this all happened.
And I would say also big thanks to Edie Visade for her assistance with getting this through the Area Foundation.
Edie Visade helped Mrs. Emerson set up this endowment at the Humboldt Area Foundation, and she worked right alongside of us working on this application to have this, and saw it through to the success. So it's a great service. It literally serves 30,000 people. And 5 communities, so it's exactly what Mrs. Emerson had in mind when she set up her endowment.
I know she's made, or they've made contributions to the police department too.
Yes, like the mobile command vehicle at the police department was purchased through the Orville May endowment. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
You're required to pay sales tax?
Yep.
That's so crazy. Okay, thank you.
Supports Measure Z.
Big support.
Yeah.
Justin, what was the cost of the add-ons? So like the 906 is the base. How much did we end up spending in additional money on the engine we currently have?
I wanna say it was 15,000, I think is what we spent on the add-ons, and that's what our new base, so the handles that we did and some of the change orders that we put in, that
So
is the base.
Those are already incorporated, so you're not anticipating the price to go much higher?
We may have a price change at the end of it if there's something at the pre-delivery inspection that we find that we need to modify, they'll tack on a charge. But as far as our contract's concerned, there's no change orders on the pre-construction punch list. It would only be if there's something that comes up during the construction or after.
Okay. And then as far as the grant goes, it should more than cover P&I payment on a 10-year loan, assuming an interest less than 8.5. Did we already talk to someone about what our
That's
options are?
Item 2.
Oh, all right.
It was big enough that we felt that we needed to separate it out, so
Okay,
the financing is business item 2.
okay.
Yes, though, to answer your question.
Chief, just for the viewing public, you explained to me what Sourcewell purchasing was, and that gives us a discount. Can you explain how that works? How that
It's
discount
a
comes in?
conglomerate of governmental entities, and Sourcewell it's a group purchasing. So we belong as a member, and we can get the benefit of bulk pricing. This group purchasing for the fire departments started with Tualatin Valley. They were a big agency, they buy a lot of stuff, and it was everything from office supplies to fire engines. And they would put riders in their contracts that allowed for other governmental entities to do a piggyback option. And that has since merged in with this nationwide Sourcewell group that caters to governmental entities for essentially already bid price items.
And you told me this, I asked this question of you earlier, looking at the benchmarks that they set out, it appears that once the fire engine is delivered, we'll have met all the benchmarks. So we'll just continue reporting to the Humboldt Area Foundation yearly, even though we'll have met the benchmarks early.
Correct, yeah, if we accomplish our task early, that's great. But each installment of the grant comes with a requirement that we would need to verify that we've completed or are in process of completing. So, yeah, if this goes through tonight, we'll have probably 5 of the benchmarks already met.
And we've already received the first payment of the first $130,000 payment.
Mhm.
Any other questions from the board? Is there any public comment? Okay, don't everybody raise their hands at once. Okay, with no public comment, back to the board. Does anybody have a motion?
I'll move that we approve the purchase of a new fire engine, authorize the chief to sign the contract with Golden State Fire Apparatus.
And is there a second?
Second?
With a motion and a second?
Director Johnson?
Yes.
Director Maynard?
Yes.
Director Mendoza?
Yes.
Vice President Arcata?
Yes.
President Loudenslager is absent. Motion carries.
Moving on to district business item number 2. This is adopt a resolution.
At the end of the 7 years, the district could either continue paying the 130 for the next 3 years, or we could just do a lump sum payment and pay it off. The option to finance $1 million would give us a little bit of a cushion, because right now if we finance just the purchase price of the vehicle, we would be on the hook for any other expenses that would come along with it. There are going to be expenses that come along with it, and I can tell Neil's going to get all excited over here, but we have the brackets to hang all the equipment, the new engine, the bigger rescue saw that we have on it, the gas-powered rescue saw doesn't fit. The compartment's a little bit smaller and the saws are big. We've actually switched over to a battery-powered unit. Same thing with the light plants. Instead of carrying generators with big lights on it, we have battery-powered lighting. All of that would need to be purchased. So with the $1 million lending, we could fill out some of that equipment, get the mounting brackets, have a cushion in there, because like anything, there's gonna be a change order. I probably can guarantee you that. And we can make that up. The other side of it is there would be enough money through financing to round out purchasing one more pickup truck and getting rid of the, which one are we talking about? The red one or the shorty? Yeah, the red one. My old truck, which has 140,000 miles on it, would be surplused out. So I brought this up when we were having our budget meeting with Director Johnston and Loudenslager. On the surface, everything had good, and my resident expert in loans had a few questions. Those are the bullet points in the staff report. The question one was if the vehicle's worth $907,000, you know, where does the other $93,000, you know, what do we use for collateral? Andrew's response is, because you're a governmental entity, there's not collateral needed. It's a pledge of net revenues, and that's based on our tax revenues and ad valorem that we come in. So we're more than adequate coverage for the needs there. Is there a penalty for payoff in year 8, 9, or 10? His response was probably not, but they won't know until they receive the results back from the RFP process to shop this loan out. And then the other question was, is there a penalty for extra payments during the life of the loan? His response was there will likely be some sort of penalty in the first 3 to 5 years, but they won't know again until they shop it out. The 10-year structure allows the district a little bit more flexibility in budgeting for annual debt service because the loan will be prepaid without premium after 3 to 5 years. The district could decide to prepay part or all of it with surplus funds should the board choose to in the future. That's one page there. So the rest of the staff report was from Andrew. He is the bond counsel, and it kind of explains how their process works. And so if I can summarize it real quick, if the board chooses to go with Wieslaw and Calmini to do this, we authorize them to become our agent. They turn around and do a quick request for proposals from the various lending institutions that they have access to. And what we would do, much like we did the last couple times we did these loans, we, staff, would review, what makes the most sense, interest rates are, and likely they're all gonna be just about the same. Pick that vendor and sign the paperwork, and then immediately the money is transferred over to pay for the vehicle.
They weren't in the first version.
Oh. Sorry, you passed a note. Gotcha, okay, so the other one is, so what they just passed me is the good faith estimates. So Andrew was able to get some better numbers. So he's putting out the financing that's estimated at 4.5%. The finance charge, so the authority, it's California Leasing Authority, I think is who their partnership with, charges a $12,500 fee. And then, so the estimated total cost of the principal and interest is $1.3 million, is what we would be looking at financing. So back to the question that the board has tonight is, you can pay cash, but our cash is earning more interest than what we would be paying a lending entity. The option to go with the community leasing partnership would be a loan just enough to cover the fire engine and nothing else. And the recommendation that I have as staff is that the board would approve, let me read it so that I get it correctly here. Staff would recommend that the board adopt resolution 24-301, approving the form and authorizing the execution and delivery of certain financing documents for the purpose of purchasing the new fire engine and authorizing other related actions in connection therewith. And that's legal term for if you go with Calmini Advisors and Weiss Law Firm, they'll work as our agent. The resolution dictates everything that they're going to do for us. And you would give me and the board president and the board clerk the authority to sign the documentation and to approve the final proposal from the lender.
Thank you. Any questions from directors?
I have a question. So it's been a while since I've done one of these. So the attorney Cameron Wiest, his fees are folded into this, correct? So that's not a separate line item?
Nope.
So it's just the 12,500. So yeah, and I don't remember how that works, but I know that. So that's just part of he gets some.
He gets some. Andrew with Calmini, he gets some, and that's all part of the instructions in that packet that shows where who gets what.
So you said one thing where instead of we pay the money to the lender, but if we do cash, we would just pay it to Golden State Fire Apparatus, right?
Correct.
We wouldn't go through a lender and then
No.
there would be no interest. Right, so is that what you said?
That's what I said.
Okay.
You would essentially liquidate all of our savings accounts, and we would be paying ourselves back $130 for the next $130,000 for the next 7 years.
Right, so what we're doing is, if we go with the resolution, then we get, the bond goes directly to Golden State Fire Apparatus, correct? And as it comes in one chunk? and
No,
then
a
we pay
portion
off.
of it that would go to pay the vehicle off, and then the other portion would come into us. And that way, we could pay the, change orders when it comes in, or
Right.
the equipment cost.
Right, but it's just going directly to, so they're gonna, as Golden State Fire Apparatus is concerned, they're gonna get cash,
Immediate. Yep.
immediate cash.
Yep.
Okay. And what's the turnaround on, if we approve this tonight, what is the turnaround on the bond?
On this, they expect the first part of April to have all that information back for us.
And that's enough time for Golden State?
Yep.
So, when are the payments due on this? Are they gonna wait until we actually receive the fire truck, or do we have to start paying right away?
That's a good question.
Yeah, cause the other ones listed like 25, April 25 is like the first payment. So, I would just be interested to make sure that we're not paying before we actually have the thing.
We do have the money already.
Well, no, I know that, but then you'll run on your
Yeah.
your 7 years is starting before you actually get the vehicle, so.
The last time we purchased through this option, we did not pay until after the vehicle was, and that's unlike lenders that you're dealing with. The lenders here understand the purchase of a fire engine takes 2 years. They're not expecting a
Yeah,
payment to start.
no,
so.
I mean, most of the time, we don't expect you to fork out a P&I payment when you
Yeah.
haven't actually received the thing that you bought yet. So, that's why I just wanted to make sure that that's not a weird caveat. Okay.
That would be a weird caveat if we had to pay for it now.
It would,
Yes,
but let's
for
just
sure.
double check. I have no problems with everything else, that's just one thing, but
Good point.
more than likely, it's, that, yeah.
If we do cash, how much is in that account right now?
The vehicle replacement fund has about $400,000 in it, so you would have to liquidate that and our contingency fund and dip into the PERS contingency fund.
And then you said we had already received $130,000. Would that replenish?
That would be if you pay cash, the first 130 is the Orvame grant.
So we wouldn't be putting in another $130,000 into our account and for another 12 months. That's 12
Correct.
months out. So it would be stretched pretty thin as far as cash goes for the next 12
Not
months.
advisable to be doing.
No, because we have to make our first payment, because it's more than likely gonna be not super funded again, so we need to have that money available because we have to make those payments.
So cash isn't an option.
Not really.
It has to be presented as an option because somebody would ask, hey, if you're sitting on $700,000, why
Yeah.
are you financing it? Well, we're earning more money than we would be if we're taking the lease. But if you spend the cash, we don't have any buffer
cash.
left.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions? You told me that there were some, let's see, page 183, talking about the motor or model engine, the year.
183. What was your question?
Or am I too far back?
I think you're too far back.
Okay, that's something else we talked about, never mind.
No, it does say it's a 2007 model engine, and its impact on the entire power steering. It's that cooperative effort.
The information you said that Director Mendoza found
Oh.
regarding the model engine, the year model engine, the title model year 2020, the WABCO model year 2021.
So those are the factory, the subcomponent warranties that are going into the vehicle. So WABCO is the braking system. It's a 20, whatever it said in there, 2021. The other one was the driveline and that component of it. So we're getting a 2024 fire engine. It's going to have a 2021 or 2020 vintage model component that's going into the vehicle. So those are the factory warranty from those subcomponents that are part of it. So the vehicle will have a 1-year warranty from Pierce. That's all the other stuff that gets put in to build the axles, transmission, the motor, all have their sub-manufacturing warranties.
I should have asked that question before. Although I had them written down under number 2. Okay, any public comment? Yes, sir.
So this would be delivered in 29 months. If you paid it now, it would come to the fire department, fire district in 29 months?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions from the public? Okay, seeing none. Any other comments from directors? Okay. Would somebody like to make a motion?
Good.
Sure. I move that the board adopt resolution number 24-301 approving the form and authorizing the execution and delivery of certain financing documents for the purpose of purchasing a new fire engine and authorizing other related actions in connection therewith, sorry.
Was not my wording.
I have a second.
I'll second.
Okay, with a motion and a second.
Director Johnson?
Yes.
Director Maynard?
Yes.
Director Mendoza?
Yes.
Vice President Arcata?
Yes.
President Loudenslager is absent. Motion carries.
Okay, give me just a second to catch up my page we're on.
It's hard, Chuck.
You know, we should have hard bound this agenda. It's enough pages.
Yeah, we couldn't even staple it.
I'm almost there.
290.
But the number 9 of items is very short.
It's the contract.
That's right.
Okay, page 290 of the packet. Item number 3, consider and provide staff direction as to the reinstatement of board member compensation. Can I have a staff report, please?
All right, so this has been brought back for one last review and then direction to staff on how to proceed. Real quick, at the last board meeting, we brought back this topic, and we as staff had questions on kind of some of the nuances of how to proceed with it. We received that direction, and the board gave their input on the following items. So the board decided that it was only for, compensation would be only for regular and special meetings. The clerk would be responsible for tracking the compensable attendance at board meetings and would use the roll call attendance as the official record. Compensation would be made quarterly in a direct deposit format. And if a board member opts out of compensation, they would need to send a letter requesting such to the clerk of the board. So we've attached, and this all has to be done through an ordinance. So we've attached the draft ordinance for review. District Council has reviewed it and approved the changes that were made in the language. We've also updated the board policy manual. And the board policy manual had some redundancies that needed to come out if the ordinance is passed. So attachment 2 has the changes in section 3.2 and 3.3 of the board policy manual. Has to do with compensation and reimbursements. So if the board finds the proposed ordinance and draft language in the manual acceptable, the ordinance will need to be placed on the April regular meeting agenda for the first reading and introduction of the ordinance. And then it will be placed on the May regular meeting for a second reading and adoption. The revision of the board policy manual will also be placed on the agenda for approval as well at that May meeting. So if the ordinance, if you guys approve the ordinance and it passes, the next item would be to amend the board policy manual. If the ordinance doesn't get passed, then we're not gonna mess with the manual. So, staff's recommending that you consider the information, take public comment, and direct me how to proceed.
Thank you very much. Questions from directors?
I don't have any questions.
Director Min?
No.
Director Mendoza?
No.
Public comment? No public comment. Okay. Back to directors, is there any discussion? Anybody want to talk about something? If not, I have, Justin on page 292, or Chief on page 292, section 2. Just kind of cleaning that up a little bit. It says, as determined by the board member, we would not be the ones determining that last sentence.
No, that was a good catch. So you and I talked about it, so on page 292, if everybody sees where that's at, that last sentence in section 2, we would strike out as determined by the board member. So there was 3 criteria that the original ordinance had that we took from another fire district. And this is an artifact that didn't get cut out. So as determined would be deleted, and subsection A would just roll into it as a new sentence. So it wouldn't be a bullet point item anymore. And that would meet the question as to board members determine, no, the ordinance is determining what you get paid for.
Okay, any other comments from directors? Okay, does anybody want to make a motion?
I don't know that we need a motion more than if the board is still willing to go forward with it, we will schedule it for its first reading and introduction at next month.
Okay.
Well, then I want to say something if there's no motion, because I'm a no vote. And I don't want to make a big stink over it. I understand I feel like I understand the idea behind this. It is hard to get. It's a different generation, and it's hard to get people to serve in these positions. But for me, the priority as a board member, just my own personal priority, is to focus on getting 3 firefighters in each engine, because we only have 2. You know, I see the big buildings being built alongside of Highway 101, and we don't have a ladder truck, we only have 2 firefighters on each engine. We have 6 firefighters at the max at any time, and I feel like perhaps it's symbolic that we really need to put our spending on trying to get our personnel up. And I understand that those are reoccurring costs, but essentially the district is underfunded, because we need 3 firefighters on each engine, and we need a ladder truck, and we need, because we have some tall buildings. So for me, that's where my focus is, and that's where I will be a no vote.
I can't tell you how happy I am to hear board members talk about we need staffing. And I would not disagree, and I would add to your concern, and that is, as the fire chief and soon-to-be fire chief, we also need to make sure that we have a board. And board members have been hard to recruit in the past, and I think $100 for a meeting is a really good gesture to give to somebody for their time to come in for all of our meetings and some special meetings. And so while I agree with you, Randy, that we absolutely need staffing, I need 5 board members. And without 5 board members, we can't do any movement to get staffing and equipment and deal with that. So I hear you, and I would say that, yeah, don't forget about your team too.
Any Any other comments? Okay, so you don't need a motion, so you just
If
roll over to April?
everybody's in, except Randy, is in agreement with moving it forward, we'll bring it back, and Randy will still have a chance to vote no.
Okay, perfect, thank you. On to item number 4, which is, I believe on page 299. Okay, item number 4 is consider approval of the fiscal year 2023-24 mid-year amended budget. Do we have a staff report?
Yes, so, yay, County Auditor's Office, they are on it. We got our information really quickly, and good news is we had money. So this mid-year budget update gives us the opportunity to kind of true up where our estimates are. So when we develop a budget, we're developing it based on what we knew to be true, which is last year's revenues. And we try to balance that with where we think expenses are gonna be. Good news is we got a little bit more money and our expenses were down, so we have a slight bit of surplus. That being said, if you want me to go through the details of it, we can. But for the most part, our revenues based on tax revenues were up almost 50,000. And again, for folks that don't understand how our revenue system works, we get 3 installments from the county for our property tax. It's called the teeter plan, and in January, which is more like mid-February, they give us the first 50% of what they have anticipated collecting on property tax. And come April, we'll get 40%, and then at the end of the fiscal year in June, they'll give us the 10% and whatever kind of growth that we have may have received at that time. So when the 50% numbers come in, that's a pretty good sign that you can, bump it up and put your fine tunes on where we are with the tax revenues. So we've made some adjustments. The other change was in intergovernmental. There was 147,000 and change increase there. That's a direct reimbursement cost from the state of California for our crews going out to cover CAL FIRE and OES on the summertime assignments. Then back to the expenditure side, we had, as discussed over the previous meetings with our succession planning, we're up just a bit, 124,000. And again, we have some overhire positions, so that is going to be up there. And what goes along with it are the next couple: retirement, group insurance, clothing, uniform allowances are all up because we have a few extra employees during this time of transition. The big hit, communications is one of those things, but the bigger one is 5120 in equipment maintenance. We've increased it by $19,000. Our apparatus and vehicle maintenance is projected to be overspent, and we still have stuff to fix, so we're bumping that up by another $14,000. Hydraulic tools, we had a damage to one of our cutter blades. The blade itself was $3,500. There's no discussion. The guy comes in, says you got a crack, and you go, here's the credit card, because you can't run with that broken equipment. And power tool maintenance increased by $1,000, just getting some of the gas powered equipment. Again, our biggest issue that we're seeing is bad gas. We try to do our best with buying, I call it the hot rod gas, but it's the ethanol free, so we don't have to get the moss growing in it. But gas powered equipment still gives us trouble. The miscellaneous is overspent. Unfortunately, this is kind of a you don't have a place in a budget to put something, and the big expense there was our payment to the Fickle Hill, or I forget what the name is, but the Fickle Hill Water Company, that we use their water for the fire up on Fickle Hill. That went in there. And then just to highlight under 5250, transportation and travel, there was no change to the total, but the way we built the budget this year is to be more compliant with the state controller's office on how to have a district budget. And they have per diem, lodging, and other travel related expenses in there. I knew that we were looking at $15,000 to be spread out. Didn't quite know how to break it up, and then at the mid-year, we were able to go, ooh, one was overspent, one was underspent, so we just rearranged the numbers. The total value of that did not change. So capital and, the capital expense increased by 31,000, and the revenue side, there was another 31,000 coming in that we pulled out of the vehicle replacement fund to replace my pickup truck. The bottom line, you're looking at about 35,000 in surplus funds that will be rolled into our retained revenues down at CalTrust.
Okay, thank you. Do I have questions from directors?
I do. So, looking at mid-year, looking down towards the next year's budget, can you forecast, we've talked just a little bit about maybe adding a floater position so that maybe one station could have 3 firefighters. What is your educated guess on whether we could look at that next year or not?
We have a current floater position, and that's, right now seems to be in the books to keep on. We'll see where we go in the near future with staffing, and, if we can get an assistant chief filled, we can reevaluate that,
But it's not filled right now.
the assistant chief position?
No, the floater position.
Floater. You're looking at
It is filled. Okay, good.
Neil, wave at him.
Keep floating.
Actually, Russell Cato will start, even though he's senior, Russell is working the floater position.
So how often do we have 3 people on staff at one station?
Not
Not
much.
often. The floater.
The floater, yeah, the floater, his thing right now, he's covering vacancies, overtime vacancies.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
vacancies and injuries, right? Yeah.
Shh, no. God.
You guys are gonna have a wonderful shift tonight, right?
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Can you take the duty from me tonight?
Long as she doesn't say that one word.
Yeah, just move on, next.
Chief, not me.
I know, but you're working. He brought his little black cloud with him, so something bad's gonna happen tonight.
The intergovernmental increase by 147, how much of that is call a profit or whatever? Because that's covering wages and.
So, yeah, that is the full burden cost of 3 bodies going out on the engine, or when Chris was going out on the strike team leader. And the way our reimbursement process works, the state's paying us overtime for 3 positions. So if, we'll say Mark, Neil, and Ross are on the engine, and they're off this day, then they get the overtime. If they're on duty, they get their straight time pay, and the folks that we call in to cover behind them, that overtime covers the backfill, if you will. And then we have a maintenance, kind of the cost of operation for the engine that goes out, so that, especially this last summer out on Route 1 for the lightning fires, we had tires to replace. All that gets charged back to this dollar amount, so it's not coming out of our district maintenance expense. And we've had some pretty good maintenance costs, but as far as profits concerned, we're probably 20% of that is what I would say is a profit, but there's not much, especially we try to reinvest back into our wildland equipment.
Thank you.
Any other questions from directors? And Chief, just to qualify or clarify, on page 302 near the bottom in blue writing, that date, should that year be a different year?
You're referring to the July 1st, 22 date, should be 23, correct?
Should be 23, okay. Any public comment? Okay, seeing none. I believe you need a motion for this.
Yes, please.
Need discussion from directors before you call for motion? Does anybody want to make a motion?
Move to approve the fiscal year 2023-24 mid-year amendment.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
With a motion and a second?
Director Johnson?
Yes.
Director Maynard?
Yes.
Director Mendoza?
Yes.
Vice President O'Connor?
Yes.
President Loudenslager is absent. Motion carries.
And moving on to item number 5. This is a request for nominations for the Humboldt Local Agency Formation Commission, otherwise known as LAFCO. Do I have a staff report, please?
Pretty much that's exactly what it is. I called to confirm today, Deborah Lake is the commissioner that's up for election. She is not seeking another term. Colette from LAFCO is expressing a desire that we fill that position with another fire district representative, so that fire has a voice on the LAFCO board, which later in our meeting we'll talk about the LAFCO process we're going through to annex Pickle Hill and Jacoba Creek. Anybody interested in being on the LAFCO board?
Any directors?
Crickets.
Well, I looked into it and I can give directors more information on it. It meets every odd month on a Wednesday. So one Wednesday every odd month at 9 a.m. at Eureka City Hall. Unfortunately, that rules me out because I have child duty in the mornings. But they don't meet that often. So if anybody else is interested, we'll
If you are interested, it's one of those things that this board would have to nominate one of their board members, directors, to be put into the ballot for them. You don't have any obligation to do such.
That's on the November ballot?
No, this is a
In-house ballot?
this will be, yeah, you would nominate Jason, if you wanted to be a candidate. Once the candidate period closes for the LAFCO, then all special districts would get a ballot that you would vote for which candidate you wanted on there.
Got it.
Did anyone check with Eric? Is he interested?
That was gonna be my question too.
I did not.
How many people are on the board? Or on the,
From my research, can I answer that? Am I allowed to?
Sure.
You're the president.
No, I'm not.
You are right now.
From my research, there are two from the Board of Supervisors, 2 from city councils, 2 from special districts,
And an alternate.
and an alternate from the public. And I believe the 2 city councils, currently one is from Fortuna, one is from Eureka. And Deborah Lake, I know for sure, was one of the special
Troy
districts.
Nicolini and Deborah Lake are the representatives for us, and I think, is it Dave Couch that's the, oh no, Heidi Brenzine from Humboldt Community Services District is the alternate for districts. Chris just whispered, I'm throwing you under the bus. Chris said, you guys could always nominate Eric, and he could refuse when he came back from vacation. Thought that was good. I don't know.
Yeah, stop him from leaving again, right?
If you're not here, you get nominated.
that's right.
That could
Yeah,
backfire
by the
though.
end of the month.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, by the end of the month, nominations close, and so then you could.
Could we, could we do a motion to nominate him contingent that he would approve? Because I'm just thinking he might, I think he would be good at it, and I think he might, I'm just wondering if he might be interested in doing it.
Well, how about this? You could nominate him tonight, and if we can call him tomorrow morning. And if he says no, then we can unnominate him.
This is a 4-year appointment, correct?
So he might not want to go 4 years. But I think it would be good to have a fire district rep, and I think if he's willing to do it, he would be great at it.
I don't think we can do that in his absence.
Do we have to nominate
Well,
someone?
we have to turn in basically a resolution
Oh.
indicating the A's and, absent and.
Is it my understanding that we don't have to do anything, we don't have to take any
do not
action
have
on
to
this?
do
No, we normally don't.
Don't, yeah.
We
Comes up
haven't.
every year, yeah.
We haven't in the past.
Although he's on vacation, stays abreast of the board packet, even in his absence. If he were interested, wouldn't
Yeah,
he
that's a
have
good point.
contacted us or?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm,
Voice of
The
reason.
sound of
I don't know if I'm
the voice of
100%
reason,
on board with nominating him.
Yeah.
the voice of reason is spoken.
Now, for this, do I need to take public comment?
Yes.
Yes.
Is there any public comment? Don't everybody jump up once. Okay, hearing none. Is there any further discussion? Anybody want to discuss this more, or should we just move on and not do anything?
Move on.
Okay, moving on. That brings us to, so do you need like an official, we're gonna just ignore it?
No, there's
No action that dies.
So moving on to correspondence and communication. First is public correspondence. We have in here, in our packet on page 311, the AVFA report. Do I need to go over that, or? Okay. So moving on to item number 2, committee reports. The Fire Station Ad Hoc Committee, myself and Director Maynor. Do you want to say anything, or?
Nothing to report.
Agreed, nothing to report. Next is AVFA Local 4981 and the Arcata Fire Protection District Relations Ad Hoc Committee, Director Maynor.
Nothing to report.
Next is the fiscal year 2023-24 Budget Committee, Director Johnson and Director Loudschlager.
We completed the assignment. That's what it says. It says a new a new ad hoc committee assignment for the 24-25 budget development. Do we need to re-up?
So, yeah, your ad hoc committee has concluded its duties
Okay.
with the mid-year revision. And then what we need to be thinking about is all over again for next year. And that one, I do know that Eric said he would be interested in being on that committee again.
And when do you choose that? As it gets closer, or?
If the board felt tonight, we could make that a committee appointment tonight, and then in a couple of months, we'll be starting the budget development for next fiscal year.
Okay. Is there any questions from directors?
I would, if they're willing to do it, I think I would continue with.
I don't mind
Nicole and
continuing, but
Eric.
I'm not gonna gatekeep if anybody wants to experience the joys.
I think Director Loudschlager and Director Johnson would make great.
Fine, we'll continue.
I appreciate you doing,
It's very stimulating.
appreciate you doing it.
Do I need to take public comment on this?
Sure.
Any public comment?
Batting 1,000 tonight.
Okay, so that's,
Directions made, yep.
okay. Fire Chief's monthly report.
Let's see, last month, it was a busy month, but not for notable incidents. We had one towards the end of the month, that was the 1600 block of Charles Avenue. Great job to the crews, Marcus and Russell Keetle. First on scene, went in, structure was pretty, not much in the way of smoke. Got in there, shut the door, and used a fire extinguisher, but it turns out it was either a battery pack or a space heater that caught clothing and some other materials on fire. Smoked up the room, damaged the belongings, but the structure itself was good. We did have to knock out the windows to get the smoke out, but overall the property owner was pretty happy with the quick response and not any water damage. That was good. Continuing on, so the majority of our pre-incident value and losses were a conglomerate of the rest of the calls. Not much in the way in damage of that place other than a bedroom. And that was the one incident that we received mutual aid, but it didn't count because they didn't get on scene. We also gave mutual aid once. 25% of our calls were overlapping, and our average response time was 3 minutes and 59 seconds. Captain Johnson is working on station signs. In fact, he and I were just talking today. He's got all points, all points wouldn't call him back. It was Sharp Autographic is gonna work with him. He's gonna get some aluminum to put in the outline of the sign. He's got some plans for the sign at this station, and then a plan for a sign and some landscaping at the Mad River station. So we'll get a consistent looking sign at all 3 stations.
Can you explain why we're doing that?
To represent that the district owns and operates the fire stations, and then to cover the communities that we're serving, much like the banner on the side of the engines. Annexation. LAFCO has mailed the notices out to the affected parcel owners. Melissa has designed a page on our website. It's cool, it's interactive, it should answer your questions. It has a link to a map that LAFCO made. So folks that are interested in seeing if they're in the annexation zone can click on it, look at the property, and even better, they can see what it will cost them as far as our special tax and benefit assessment. So it was a great, great map. John from the LAFCO program was designed that. The other thing I'm asking, as Jason said, odd month, March 20th is going to be the hearing. It'll be the LAFCO meeting, and I am asking that a board member would be available to accompany me. We need to go and be there to answer questions and represent the fire district for the annexation.
Whose district is that, division is that gonna be?
Mine.
Jason.
Yeah. And just for your benefit, Randy, the notice, the LAFCO notice was attached to the board packet. And then I had Alyssa design a trifold flyer. She's working with our logistics team. I think there's 4 or 5 of them that have said they were available. They're gonna head out into the community Thursday afternoon, Friday, maybe?
2 are not available now, so we're making a plan to meet on Thursday, see how many we have, and then make a plan for Thursday and Friday.
Good. To go out and do door-to-door, drop off the notices, just in case they didn't check the mail, and give them the flyer on who we are. And then any questions, we would direct folks to either call me or to go to the website to the frequently asked questions on what is the annexation mean.
I noticed that and I appreciate that because we don't want any surprises.
No, so far, there's been no complaints received by Colette with LAFCO. The couple people that have reached out to us have been totally supportive. including Mr. Van Vleck, that we had an incident at his house. He asked if there was anything he could do. I said, write a letter of support to the LAFCO board to, keep it moving forward. There was an odd request that came in. A gentleman up on Nature Lane, which is just outside our annexation, would be on the Neelan side of the annexation, has expressed his desire to come our direction. So that kind of threw it for a loop. And so that will likely be discussed at the meeting on the 20th. If part of the process, the notification process is all the affected parcel owners get the notice from LAFCO, and a 300-foot buffer, those that live in that buffer also get a notice. So it's also, hey, I want to. We'll see. Part of it is that area that we're trying to delete the uncovered area. Half of it comes into Arcata, half of it goes to Neelan. And that's what I was talking with the LAFCO representatives about is, it doesn't really matter to me which side of the line people are on, as long as that area gets covered, and then we don't have to worry about the out-of-district response fees, we don't have to worry about, explaining to the community why, taxpayers, fire engines are rolling out to somewhere else. It's all covered under mutual aid because it's a fire district. We'll see. That'll be something to discuss at the meeting at LAFCO. Last thing, you guys, Chris will give you a couple updates. Last thing for me is we're doing a badge pinning annual awards event at the Legion Hall, April 3rd. I said 4 p.m. Was that correct? 4 p.m. We got 5 badge pinning promotionals, and then our end of the year annual awards from 2023. And somebody, Alyssa or Katie, is gonna find us a cake and we'll have a good time.
So it's Wednesday, not Friday,
It's Wednesday, correct?
because we got a notice for Friday
We
too.
did, and Friday has been deleted.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah, Wednesday. And then I will kick it over to Chris for an update on the standards of cover and the SAFER grant.
Okay, I read that wrong.
Can I ask just one question before
Sure.
you move on? The response times for McKinleyville Fire, is that an aberration, or is it normally that high?
6 minutes and 23? Okay. The way the computer system kicks it out, it takes into account all responding units to that incident. So if I have a unit coming from Blue Lake, it's gonna make that response time a little bit more wonky than if it was just the McKinleyville station going on a call. That's all of our rigs going to all calls in McKinleyville, or Ottawa partners coming in.
So that can fluctuate up and down quite a bit from month to month.
Correct. Like when we had the fire out at the very end of Jacoba Creek Road, our response time for Arcata was a little ugly because it took 15 minutes to get there.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Wasn't there one time where it was like over an hour because it kept clocking someone?
It was an over an hour because of our engine that was covering CAL FIRE going to calls way out there. It's a,
That's fine, I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah. There's some outliers that affect it. Right. Chris?
Okay, I'm on. As far as standards of cover, we're well underway with that. We had a kickoff meeting last month, which that was with all the personnel from AP Triton, and they lined us out on the process as far as gathering data and what our goal would be. And then we had another meeting last week. It's an update. They're doing updates with us, and there's, gosh, dozens of tables and charts of information that we've been filling out. Everything from operations to our ISO rating to our fire prevention bureau to training hours. It's just seems like an endless amount of tables and charts where we're gathering information. Our goal is to have it done within 6 weeks at the latest. However, we're
The charts.
The charts, not the whole study, but the charts. And then at that point, we would get with them and they'll come out for a site visit and start the process on their end and make any adjustments on as they go through the process. Question is it covered?
That's wonderful.
I should add that we are the lead on it, so everything, we are the clearinghouse. So we wanted clarification from them. We have to get information from the city of Arcata, county of Humboldt. There'll probably be a little bit out of Cal Poly, but everything will come to us and then go to AP Triton for the study. SAFER grant. Where did that go? Okay. So the SAFER grant, as the board approved last month's meeting to enter into contract with fire grants experts, when we were discussing with them the different grant applications, they had SAFER, they had AFG, Assistance Firefighters grants, and I entered the wrong information in the staff report as far as the dates of the opening and closing of the SAFER grant. So the SAFER grant doesn't actually open, or it opened on March 11th and closes April 12th. It doesn't change anything as far as the contract or anything like that, or the process. It was just the wrong dates. They had given me the assistance firefighter grant dates, opening and closing. So just want to make sure that that was updated and you had the correct dates.
It gives us a little bit more wiggle room to work with them to get the information for FEMA.
Good.
I think what else? Should I report on our trip to?
Oh, yeah.
I guess I could report on 4 of us went back to the National Fire Academy, took command and control of natural and man-made disasters. I think it was a complete success for us. Tony and Ross and then Dustin Darnell also went back, and I know I've been doing this a long time, and I actually learned quite a bit while I was back there, some new tricks. The instructors were amazing. We actually implemented something that had never been done in class for them. It's called the FEMA Lifelines, which is essentially a situation status board, and we asked the instructor why that wasn't incorporated into the curriculum. I don't know, go ahead and try it out. So we did, and saying, oh, Tony's getting his picture taken and probably gonna
Maybe
be
on the
entering.
website, guys. I'm over there now too.
He's trying to get Humboldt's finest again.
I know, I'm just on there for you.
Um,
I got a baby deer in my hand.
As part of it, the instructor was calling all over the country to other FEMA instructors and asked if that had ever been used before in class. Nobody had any recollection of it, so they are now going to try to incorporate that into the curriculum.
Excellent. Good job.
Ironic though, shortly after Chris got back, the storm information coming out of County OES, Ryan Derby, was one of the first times. Chris was telling me about these lifelines, and here it is in Ryan's email to us that had the lifelines color-coded, green good, red bad, type of stuff, and it was like, hey, it's Ryan, he's on it. So yeah, it was neat to hear that they got to do it, and then a week later, we're getting that information from County OES.
Excellent, wonderful. Okay, thank you. And on to number 4, director matters. I saw an email that the assistant chief hiring is going to be closing soon,
Right.
and we may have some candidates.
Currently there are 2.
Okay, good. And also I'll add that I have seen your postings, things on Facebook. What are they called, postings?
Yeah.
About the annexation, so thank you for
Okay,
that.
great.
Sorry, if you're talking, you have to put the camera on your.
So thank you for that. I've seen them in multiple areas, so thank you.
Good.
People are sharing them, and I've seen them from different people that I know that are getting them and sharing it with others. And also, because they are gonna be in my district, if anybody wants to email me at the Arcata Fire, my Arcata Fire email with questions, they can. That's all I have.
By the way, she was on the TV today too, talking about safe driving, and since we had a pile of accidents in the latest hailstorm, so she was out representing.
Redwood News at 6 p.m. Oh, 45 minutes ago.
Just away.
Well, good job.
Somebody will see it at some point and send
No
it.
fatalities?
No.
That truck under the underpass looked bad the other day.
Was that the black one? Black
No,
truck?
it was like a little Isuzu, I don't know what they call those trucks with the cab front
Oh,
box.
yeah, we didn't even get called to that one.
That was,
Yeah.
I was surprised.
Okay.
Cut in half.
Anybody else? Director Johnson?
I just wanted to thank Alyssa for her help today.
Oh.
Just the edit that.
Did I do okay?
You did great, thank you so
Okay.
much.
Director Mendoza?
I'm good.
Thanks.
Did 4981 have anything to add to our meeting tonight?
talk about it after the meeting.
Okay.
Nobody wanted to say anything tonight. So, this gentleman, thank you very much.
Oh, I will add, I did watch Benny's funeral, the live stream, and I thought that was really nice that they were able to provide that, because I couldn't go down in person, but I still really wanted to see it, so
I
think
agree.
that was really nice that Sac Metro put that together.
I watched also, I appreciated being able to watch that.
Yeah, everything that they put on was top notch.
Okay, there are no closed session items. So, do we have a motion for adjournment?
I move we adjourn.
I'll second.
Third.
With a motion and a second.